Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to another voice note with me, Zahida, the big sister that you never had. And you're joining me at my favorite time, which is tea time. I love tea. I love Earl Grey tea specifically. And you know what? Not like I needed any excuse to drink tea, but I just shared something on my Instagram that I found, and it says women who drink tea before menopause have higher bone density after menopause than those who don't. By the way, bone density is like a really big thing as you get older. And you know what's so funny is that recently someone tried to shame me for my age on my YouTube. I found it so interesting because they were like, "Oh man, you know, menopause must be hitting you so hard and all of that." And I just found it so interesting that we live in this society that shames people for growing older when growing older is such a huge blessing. As someone who was diagnosed, I was diagnosed with a debilitating autoimmune disease at 25. And it was a very dismal kind of bleak future that the doctors told me, the specialists told me that I had in front of me because of how severe the illness was, subhanAllah. And I've healed from it entirely. That video is coming soon, inshallah. Many of you have requested it, inshallah. Make dua that Allah makes it easy for me to do it. But the fact that I'm still living at 41 and living healthily, mashallah, and I don't know how many years Allah will still grant me, but every year that you give is a get from Allah. It can be a blessing. So many don't get the privilege of growing older. And I just find it so sad that Muslims shame other Muslims for their age when, you know, a healthy, prolonged life can be a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it just shows you how much colonial Western thinking has infiltrated into our thinking. And it's all the more reason why I want to share something very specific today with you. I've got my iPad out. I want to share something very specific with you. When I'm talking to you guys, when I'm making you these voice notes about marriage, and I've said it before, I'm not discouraging you from marriage, but I'm really highly encouraging you to be picky and be choosy. And the reason for that is it actually goes back to the menopause and the tea and what this guy said on my YouTube. You are choosing the person you are going to grow older with. You are choosing the person you're going to go through menopause with. You are choosing the person that you will be with when his testosterone declines, when he starts experiencing the impacts of older age. And that's if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you both with a longer life, alhamdulillah. So you're also choosing someone, who will be there with you through pregnancy, should you have a pregnancy, through postpartum, should you have children, through the raising of those children. But even if you don't have any children, you are choosing someone that will be there with you through every menstrual cycle, through the ups and downs of your luteal phase. And if that person doesn't have emotional intelligence like Rasulullah cultivated and taught the Sahaba to cultivate and teaches us through the Seerah to cultivate, you're going to be left with a man who's parading Western values as Islamic values, who's saying, "Oh, no, I'm supposed to be so emotionally defunct." When that's not Islam. So I want to focus on this here. I've shared this with you guys. I did like a whole masterclass a couple of days back where I went in depth into this. I kind of said, we're going to bang this whole thing out and I'm going to go in depth into this. But this is a PDF that I created for you guys because I was getting so many questions. When I was sharing about being picky and being choosy and being discerning about marriage, you guys were asking, but how do you know? How can you spot the red flags beforehand? If a proposal comes, we call them samosa runs, like when someone comes to you and you guys have a chaperone chat and maybe you have a few times that you meet chaperone for the purposes of marriage, you're discussing it and you're trying to consider whether or not this person will be a good husband for you. And you were saying, how do I tell? What questions do I ask? So I went in depth. I made you a full guide. This is free. If you want it, let me know. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And it's called Questions to Choose a Marriage Partner for Your Dunya and Akhirah. Can men use it? Of course. I have designed this though for any Muslim person, but you will see that it speaks a lot about why it's so important to choose a good qawwam, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls a qawwam. And a qawwam is not just a financial provider, that is the bare minimum. A qawwam is also someone who is stable. When you look into that Arabic word and you really take the time to study it and do tadabbur on it, you will find that qawwam is like a pillar. Think about a pillar in a household or a pillar in the bridge, supporting a bridge. A pillar it's grounded, it is firm, it is a support, and it provides continual support, not support when it feels like it, not support if they like you or don't like you. The support is always there. It is a very big responsibility on a man when he is a husband to be a qawwam. And so these questions are designed to help you see and assess and we're going to go into one specific part of this today, but it's here to help you assess whether that man is ready to be the qawwam for you. Because he can say, yeah, sure, I know, I'm going to be that qawwam. And you're like, okay, now he told me that, but do I know if he actually is? So this is designed to go in depth and go beyond surface level questions and really delve into whether he can actually be a qawwam for you. Having said that though, when you read these questions, it's going to make you question yourself. It's going to make you question your own emotional maturity, your own emotional readiness for marriage. So some of you even ask me, how do I know if I'm emotionally ready for marriage? This guide is going to help you do that too. My tea is just the perfect temperature, so I have to drink it. I can't leave it. So let's go into a specific part of this. Let's scroll down to, I'm going to go into the emotional intelligence. So part 2, section 2, there's 7 sections to this that deal with different areas. Section 1 is about he may say he may be reading his 5 times salah. He may even be a hafiz. But is he truly akhirah focused in the way that he embodies the sunnah? And then section 2 is about emotional intelligence and conflict resolutions. And there's 5 more sections, so a total of 7. So I think this is one of the very overlooked parts. And sometimes some people out there don't even know. Like a lot of Muslims, I find, don't actually know about how important emotional intelligence is. Somebody on my video the other day said, don't worry about all this emotional stuff. Just get married if it's a good person. And I was like, why would you think that? Why would you think emotional stuff doesn't matter? Emotional stuff. Emotional intelligence is such an important thing because, like I said, you are a woman. He's choosing to marry a woman, and a woman comes with the amana of a womb. And a womb is a very big responsibility. Your womb is the source, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed wisdom in it, is the source of nourishment and nurturing. Whether you have children or not, the reason that we can be so intuitive and we can be so dialed in and we can be so loving and so caring, alhamdulillah, when we are well taken care of, when we are in an emotionally safe environment, by the way. Because some people might be watching this, but I know women who are not like that. Yeah, it happens. And I'll show you, go back far enough into their past, whether it's in what happened in their marriage or maybe what happened in childhood even. The emotional safety was not there and the trauma impacted them. And it impacts their ability to be emotionally safe for other people and really tap into their full feminine nurturing. So having a man, a qawwam, who is emotionally intelligent and an emotionally safe space for you so that he takes the time to understand your phases and your ups and your downs. So much of postpartum depression, postpartum depression is a big thing and it's a real thing. And yes, some of it is hormonal and so on, but we've lost the traditions, we've lost that connection that we have to our bodies, in the sense that in the past, for at least 40 days postpartum, the new mother was well taken care of, well nourished, fed well, well supported. That doesn't happen so much anymore these days. People are not supported well enough. And so the woman is not supported. She's not getting enough good food, good nourishment. She's not getting enough sleep. She's not getting enough emotional support. She's expected to just carry on and hustle and grind the same way that Western culture tells us to do. There's no space for anything. She's considered lucky if she gets maternity leave, when it's so ironic because bringing life into the world is such a precious thing, and you need all the support and nourishment you can get. And so we have lost connection to the wisdom of our wombs. And so when you marry someone who's a qawwam and he understands he's marrying a woman, he's marrying a woman with a womb, he's marrying a woman with, a high attunement to other people around her and to the people she's in relationship with, he understands the ebbs and the flows. He takes the time to understand. Like, one of the things that I teach my clients, and I do in my own marriage as well, I let my husband know when my luteal phase is coming. So that's a time just before your period starts, and everything in your body needs to wind down, needs to slow down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so that when you are on your period, you are exempt from many fard obligations. What is that telling you? That's telling you that Allah wants us to rest. He knows our body. He designed it this way. He knows your womb. He knows what it needs. And we push back against that. Like, if you have a husband that then expects you to just go in your luteal phase and while you're menstruating, but then he wants to enjoy how good you feel in your ovulation phase, like, that's not a qawwam. So men having that sense of empathy, a man having that sense of empathy is so important. That's why I'm telling you guys, like, when you marry someone who lacks emotional intelligence, you have no idea how severely it derails you and deteriorates the quality of your life until you are there. May Allah not put you through that. So these questions, let's go through some of them. And I've written here, this section helps you ask the deeper questions that expose how someone handles discomfort, disagreement, and emotional vulnerability. Because it's not enough that he leads you in prayer. You need to know if he can sit in conflict and still be your safe space. So a couple of questions that you want to ask, got them outlined here. When was the last time someone close to you was upset with you? How did you handle it? Pay close attention. What is he saying? How does he see conflict? How does he believe he needs to handle conflict? Is he running away from it? Is he demonizing or villainizing that person just because he has a conflict with them? Is he even aware? Is he self-aware enough to see what his role in it was in it, what lessons he can learn from it? And you can ask yourself these questions too. These are really good reflective questions to ask yourself, so you can see for yourself where your emotional intelligence level is at and where you need to do some work around it so that you can be marriage ready, inshallah. Because a woman who knows how to handle conflict well makes an amazing wife. A man who knows how to handle conflict well makes an amazing husband. May Allah grant everyone good marriages. Can you share a time when you had to apologize even though it felt uncomfortable? Do you know how many people I speak to, clients sometimes, who used to find it very difficult to apologize, and then they go through my programs and they're like, okay, now I understand. I understand the art of repair. I understand why that skill is so important. And it's also very important to have that emotional intelligence and understanding to know when it's not about just apologizing just to get it all out the way and okay, fine, I'm so sorry, like, can we just move on? That's not a real apology. An apology is really being able to look at, like, where did I go wrong? Is there somewhere they might have gone wrong? Where do we both need to shift and learn and go? Where do I need to apologize? Like, all these things are part of the sunnah. They're part of the sunnah. And what we did was, what's happened over time is that we understand the principle. We say, oh, make maaf, forgive, move on. But we've lost the essence of what's required. What are the details that are required to get to that place? We want the end result, but we're not willing to do the work of it. And so if he can't answer these questions, or it's like they stump him, then you know that this is somebody who maybe hasn't done the emotional work or developed that emotional intelligence. How do you know when you need space versus when you need to talk things through? This is such an important one. Because of, again, colonization. Like, when you look at the prophets, peace be upon them, they were very in tune with their emotions. Very in tune. The way Yaqub alayhi salam grieved the loss of his son, Yusuf alayhi salam. I can't see many men, in our society, if he did that, he would be ridiculed and shamed very badly. May Allah protect us. So a lot of men in our society, again, Western culture, they've been taught and groomed to believe that they can't show emotion. And so when they are upset about something, they withdraw and they go into silent mode. And some of them have this idea, okay, if I'm a good husband, I just keep quiet. I just don't say anything. I don't want to rock the boat. And I understand where they're coming from, but that's not an emotionally, it's a well-meaning stance, but it's emotionally immature. Because what happens is that he withdraws and then the wife ends up feeling abandoned. The wife ends up feeling, you don't want to talk. You're not listening to me. You're not paying attention. You're not solving issues, and things just get swept under the rug. And so establishing beforehand, because people are different. Some people, some men and women, need time to process. When there's been a conflict, they need some time by themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to want that. You're allowed to take that. But you also need to be real with yourself and your potential spouse about what that means for you. You can't say, I need some time, and then never come back to the issue ever and just shove it under the carpet. You need to know, okay, I need maybe to go for a run, or I need to go do some exercise, or I need to just be by myself for a while. And I will circle back. I'll circle back within X amount of time. You owe your partner that. That's really, really important to create emotional safety and a healthy, happy marriage. And then there's a few other questions here. I'm not going to mention all of them. I'm going to end off this one. What parts of your parents' marriage do you want to replicate or do differently? Please ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question first. It's going to give you so much insight into where you need to grow, because we inherit our parents' blueprint for marriage. We inherit our parents' blueprint for how we manage or don't manage our emotions. So think about this for yourself. And when you're asking this potential spouse, what part of your parents' marriage do you want to replicate or do different? This is going to give you so much feedback. You're not trying to be just nosy. You're not just trying to probe into areas you're not supposed to. You're asking for a very specific reason. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you that right to ask questions, to figure out whether this is a good spouse. There's I think one of the instances in which you're not allowed to make riba, you're not allowed to expose people, but one of the instances where you are allowed to speak the truth about someone, even if it's not a flattering truth, is when someone is inquiring about marriage. If you go to someone and you say, I am considering person X for marriage, what can you tell me about them? The person you're asking has a responsibility, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to tell you anything that they know that might be sus or dodge about that person. This is how serious Allah takes the responsibility of choosing someone for marriage. So these people who are telling you, no, don't delve too deep, they're going against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. You are supposed to do your homework. You are supposed to make inquiries. This is part of making those inquiries. So what are some of the red flags? If he avoids the questions or idolizes one parent while demonizing the other, or says it's none of your business, yeah, that's red flag stuff. That's worth noting, because you're not asking this to judge his family. You're trying to understand his blueprint for emotional intimacy. And look, sometimes people haven't inherited the best blueprint. I think sometimes, in our society, we have this thing of, if he comes from a divorced home or she comes from a divorced home, there's a stigma to that. But as long as, I find sometimes in those instances, there's more self-awareness. There can be, not always, but there is. The children of divorced parents tend to have a lot of insight because they have been through a lot and seen a lot and witnessed a lot. That being said, there's a lot of families where their parents stayed together for the sake of the children, but they still witnessed a lot. It was very traumatizing growing up around their parents' fights and parents' dysfunction. May Allah make it easy for everyone. So even though you may not have inherited the best blueprint from your parents for marriage, or that prospective person didn't either, the important thing is, are you willing to change? Are you willing to grow? Are you willing to work through some of that stuff? Maybe there's some traumas you need to heal. Maybe there's some skills you need to update. Maybe there's some nervous system regulation and safety that you need to create in yourself. Those are the things to pay attention to. Okay, I hope that you found this voice note helpful, inshallah. I do believe it can be extremely, extremely impactful if you implement this. Okay, I'm sending you so much love and du'as. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.